Hi, this is George Sandmann. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive, and Growth Drive is the precision system for driving profits, growth, and value. And this is a strategic planning insight. Data tells us that there's a recession coming, right? 2025, 2026, we can anticipate our next recession. And that allows us to engage in time to market planning, right? The conclusion that we're going to play out here is that private businesses and their advisors should be working hard to increase strategic capacity immediately. Now, why do we say that? Well, data indicates that you might want to plan for the 2025-2026 recession immediately. We've already given it a name, and we hope that it is short-lived, that it is mild, and that it is as far out in the future as possible. But we all agree, right? We all agree, don't we, that recessions are inevitable. They're part of our economic cycles. And our only debate is when will it happen and how deep will it be? But let's really focus on when is it going to happen. Now, U.S. recessions happen in roughly decade cycles. We have these intervals. The average interval is 8.9 years. If we don't count those two recessions, or were they one, in the 1980s, they happen every 8 or 9 years. They tend to last approximately 12 months. Okay, if you go on average. February 2020 is an anomaly. I'm not going to go into that in detail again, but we all know that was kind of man-made, if you will. We went into it, we caused it, and there are a lot of other things. Go and look at if you're interested, go and look at the M1 money rate that's published by the Fed in St. Louis. If you're interested in how recessions can be man-made and how printing money can lead to inflation, but I digress. So now, if my tone of voice doesn't sound doom and gloom, it's not, because this is not doom and gloom. This is your opportunity to build a business that is resilient, that is ready to undergo the inevitable stresses of the inevitable recession, and is best positioned to capitalize on the opportunities that those recessions create while they're ongoing and as they end. So the average drop in the S&P is about 30%, a little under 30%. That's a heck of a contraction, right? And we all look at our investment portfolios and get queasy. But why does the current economic context indicate that perhaps a recession is closer term than, frankly, any of us would want? Inflation has moderated, but it remains a concern. Again, there are some great charts published by Fred out in St. Louis. Interest rates are high because of Fed actions. These can, of course, slow growth. Employment is strong, but growth is cooling. Now we'll see if the tariff climate and some enthusiasm coming out of that is enthusiasm by some it plays a role. Again, this only impacts the timing and the severity. It doesn't impact whether or not a recession is coming. Yield curve is inverted. That is a very bad sign. Consumer spending is getting tight. Although home purchases, I read in the Journal over the weekend, continue to be strong. Don't understand why, but that's good news. That's good news, right? This is good news. We should be rooting for a strong economy. And global risks, ongoing geopolitical tensions, etc., are having an impact. So when might the next recession happen? And based on historical patterns, the predicted window is late 2025 to mid 2026. Again, hope we're wrong. Hope it's not severe, but we're only wrong as to timing. So the sooner you start working on increasing strategic capacity, the better. We all agree that recessions are inevitable. The only debate here is about when. And we have a choice, right? As advisors, as business owners, we can stick our head in the sand and pretend that it's not going to happen. That is whistling through the graveyard. Prepare, plan. With a plan, no bad can happen. We'll get into that in a second. So how much let's, rather than looking at the contraction of GDP, which tends to get skewed as our economy gets larger and larger. Good news again, right? The average S&P drop is 29.2%. The mildest drop was 17 in 1980, right? And the most severe was a 57 in the Great Recession. We all lived through that. It was terrible. I personally lost everything. I know that many of you out there got hammered as well. So the forecast is for a 20 to 40% drop in the S&P 500. Assuming a moderate recession, that's going to be a 20 to 30% drop. If it's deeper or accompanied by more profound financial instability, like a shock, real estate, you remember the real estate shock to the market, there could be a 35 to 40% drop. The market always comes back. The only question is, how do we prepare for the decline? So here, let's talk about GDP. And you can see how these numbers start getting big in a hurry. Mild recessions, 80 billion to 250. Deep recessions, $1 trillion to 2.2 trillion. If the Fed executes a soft landing, if the Fed does a good job, and they have, not without fault, but they have, we can see a GDP, gross domestic product, contraction of 300 billion to 600 billion. These are all adjusted for inflation. If it's deep and if there's a credit-driven downturn, the contraction could approach 1 trillion, right? Again, we're not predicting that this recession is going to have the impact of 2008, but those are possibilities. Again, we are not debating when, we're not debating if, we're debating when and how bad. So that is the data coming out of the market. What are your key takeaways? Recessions are inevitable, and the only debate is about timing. Historical data shows recessions occur every approximately 9 years. Current economic indicators suggest a potential recession. This can be an opportunity for companies who have prepared by increasing strategic capacity. Talk to your advisor, do some research, Google, what is strategic capacity? The S&P 500 could experience a 20% to 40% decline, and GDP could contract somewhere from a third to a full $1 trillion, depending on severity. Here's your key takeaway. Businesses who have built high strategic capacity, this is a well understood, I'm not saying it's easy, but this is a well understood process. Businesses who have built high strategic capacity will likely fare best during the inevitable recession and emerge in the best position to capitalize on market rebound opportunities. If you are a growth advisor, an exit planning wealth advisor, you should be having this conversation with your clients today. If you're a business owner, CEO of a private business, think about what you might do to create resilience in your business. And believe you me, increasing strategic capacity is the name of the game. How do you do it? Ask someone who uses the growth drive system. So critical actions you can take immediately. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on this slide. 1, building strategic capacity builds resilience. Begin immediately. If you look at the last point, there is no downside. There's nothing bad can come out of this. Listen, the data is clear. Businesses that increase strategic capacity increase gross revenues profits by an average of 22% when they do the work. And that has an incredible impact on value. When you increase strategic capacity, every dollar of EBITDA, which is a fancy word for a specific type of net income, right? Net profit, you can get $6, $8, $10 of value in your business. Now, if you're planning to sell your business in the next 12 to 18 months, you need to make sure that you understand there's going to be inevitable, when there's a recession, there is an inevitable flight to quality. Capital, the private capital markets, seek out high quality businesses, right? They have a lower tolerance for risk. Fewer deals will be closed with only businesses with the highest strategic capacity successfully completing an M&A or similar transaction. You planning for an internal transfer? Great. If you're doing that in the next 12 to 18 months, within the window we're discussing here, maximizing strategic capacity means that you, as the bank, business owners, we're talking to you, you may end up owning the paper, right? Lending your senior leadership team, in the case of an MBO, the money that it takes. They're going to pay you out of future cash flow, okay? You want to de-risk future cash flow, and you do that by increasing strategic capacity. 4th point, and this is important, prepare to go to ground. Think of it as having a go bag. Now, prepare to go to ground does not mean you have to go to ground. By the way, a lot of good comes out of this exercise as well. So how do you prepare to go to ground if you need to? Pull way back. Calculate the profitability by product or service. Calculate your profitability by client. Now, just having that data would be pretty great, wouldn't it? Now, in the event of a severe or prolonged recession, this data, this profitability data, allows leadership to swiftly cut the lines, right? If you're a sailor, you understand what cut the lines means. Increasing efficiency, which means you can, if you need to, if emergencies demand, you can jettison, you can cut back, you can increase where you focus by product, by service, by client. All right. That increases efficiency. Hand in glove with this, create and vet, test plans for voluntary pay cuts. That's where we've always started, right? Furloughs if needed, and similar staffing adjustments. And communicate with your people. They are smart. They understand that recessions happen. And by you saying, hey, we're going to start with X, and then we may, if things are really bad, move to Y, but we never want to lose you, etc. Have a plan. Pay cuts, furloughs, and similar staffing adjustments to reduce operating costs. Your cash flow will become constrained. This can maintain core business without unduly sacrificing margin, and more importantly, culture and brand. And remember, brand is the outward manifestation of culture. So the pro move here is to also consider coordinating your plans with key suppliers, distributors, and long-term or high-volume customers. We are all in this together. So if you're among the best of the best, you will not only increase strategic capacity, but you're going to sit down and have brave conversations with suppliers, distributors, and customers. Okay, here's what's going to happen in a recession. You don't want them, the human brain, if it doesn't have data, uses voodoo. We all know it, right? They will invent a story, and those inventions are typically not best case scenario. They're typically not going to be good for you. So why is this exciting? Do the work. There is no downside. Increasing strategic capacity, especially in Dimension 1. Dimension 1 is creating predictable profits and cash flow. Or do you want predictable, profitable cash flow in a recession? You bet you do. Increasing strategic capacity, especially in Dimension 1, has no downside. And when the recession occurs, not if, when, and hopefully it's mild, but when it occurs, you, the business owner, you, the growth advisor, you, the exit planning wealth advisor, will be positioned to help your client to outperform the competition. So discuss and plan with your clients today. Today, pick up the phone and talk about this today. These slides are available to you, so feel free to download. We have a bibliography of sources, some great stuff here. We included a couple of the prompts that were used for researching this article. And listen, we're here. We are committed to your success. And we're happy to help. You know, our Growth Drive's vision is to help $1 trillion of private businesses increase strategic capacity in the 3 dimensions of business growth. So if that resonates with you, come on in, give us a call, do some research on the website. Best thing you can do is call us, schedule a conversation, and we're here and happy to help. Okay? Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.